Hello, it's 12 hours GMT. This is the Midday News. The news is live on Joy 99.7 FM in Accra. We are live in Kumasi on Love 99.5 FM. We are streaming live on Facebook and over 30 affiliates across Ghana's 16 regions, including Radio Wa in Wa, ATL in Cape Coast, KTU Radio Koforidua, Radio Max is in Takrade, Lolonyo FM Hohoi, A1 Radio and Dreams FM Bolgatanga, Jubilee Radio in Keta. You can go digital on Spotify and the MindJoy online app. And coming up, announce further cuts in expenditure and stop interfering in the work of key institutions. The blueprints from an experienced former finance minister to save a distressed Ghanaian economy.
We can still catch it. Look, Prof. Mills reduced his MDAs from 27 to 23. We must also be careful. We are destroying our institutions. A young economist may say, when the fundamentals are right, so. It goes beyond that. We are talking too much.
This advice comes in the wake of financial experts rubbishing the Bank of Ghana's new measures.
It has not worked in the past 3 months, and one is wondering how that will work within this period.
We have details. Also, Yoko admits difficulty in identifying the laws to prosecute Chief Executive of the Men's Gold, who is standing trial for defrauding by false pretenses, money laundering, and 13 other charges.
Men's Gold case. Which act did it break? And it's becoming difficult even prosecuting that case because.
We'll hear from the Chief Executive of Yoko, who has been explaining challenges in prosecuting other financial and economic crimes.
Documents are not there, and you cannot even trace. The person is on retirement, and you cannot trace anything. It will even affect prosecution processes. And when people get away with crimes, the crime will continue.
In this package, 7 people arrested for their alleged involvement in the killing of an old man and woman accused of witchcraft in the Talensi district of the Upper East region. We'll hear from the DCE.
There have been processes of witchcraft, but we've never witnessed something like this before. 2 people are here lost their lives, and that is the surprising aspect.
And coming up in sports.
Well, it's another year, and Joy Sports, in collaboration with our partners, is ready for another edition of the Pro Ride, a 99.7 kilometer cycling competition with cash prizes to be won. Details in 20 minutes. And later in the bulletin, using popular lyrics to inspire students in the lecture hall.
So from the college, I can assure you that my mind beats for you and my heart beats for you.
My heart beats for you every time when I think of you.
Finally, from Kevin Boy, I fall down flat.
I fall for you, down flat.
We'll take you to the lecture hall at the University of Ghana. Details of these and more in this half-hour package. Please stay with us. Hello again, my name is Ernest. Manu. Thanks for choosing us. This is the home of independent, fearless and credible journalism. This afternoon, the Ghanaian economy is in focus again. Experts are warning the cost of living and doing business will only get worse despite a raft of measures announced by the central bank. Former finance minister and former central bank governor Dr. Kwabena Dufour is urging government to immediately announce further cuts in government expenditure. He argues the nation cannot wait many months for an IMF program to save the economy. The Bank of Ghana on Wednesday announced an increase in the policy rate from 19 to 22%, the biggest increase since 2002. This simply means the cost of credit will also go up. Here are highlights of the measures announced by the central bank yesterday.
Aside from increasing the policy rate to 22%, the primary reserve requirement of banks has also gone up from 12 to 15%. This is to be implemented systematically starting from 13% on September 1 and hitting 15% in October. The central bank also says it will work with the mining firms, international oil companies and their bankers to purchase all foreign exchange arising from voluntary repatriation of export proceeds from mining and oil and gas. This is to boost the supply of foreign exchange.
And that's a News Desk report. Now, finance and economic experts Professor Lord Mensah and Professor John Gachi say these measures will not yield much. First, listen to Professor Lord Mensah explain how the measures are likely to deal only with the challenge of people using foreign currency to store wealth.
The financing budget deficit through overdraft from the Bank of Ghana. Now, all these things has a way of building up, deteriorating the economy and putting pressure on the economy in a way
That is why Bank of Ghana thinks that, they can still increase the policy rate and then, tackle inflation by thinking that some monies are being supplied across. But let me chip in this. If you take, the exchange rate and the trajectory that it has been moving over the years, now there's a point where the cedi deteriorates against the dollar, where people start seeing the dollar as a store of value. That is the point that we've gotten to now. The reason why I'm saying this is that if you take our interest rate structures, you realize that none of them goes above inflation. So effectively, the real rate of investment is negative. So it does not make sense to keep your money in treasury bills anymore. So the best way you can keep investment is to buy the dollar and store it. So I will not fault Bank of Ghana for increasing the monetary policy rate because they want to discourage, that aspect. Even if you give the banks the chance, they will be prepared to buy the dollars and keep them.
Well, we can now hear from Professor John Kachi.
It is not an easy task thinking that you will go to oil companies, mining companies, who already are engaged in execution of their budgets and their programs, strategies for the year. So that I do not think that is something that can rely on totally. You need to assess what you have achieved out of that. You have not achieved anything that you can announce. Then you graduate it to 15% staggered between September and November without appreciating that was counterproductive. You increase policy rate, that is going to limit the number of entrepreneurs to get access to credit because of the costs. And at the same time, you are limiting the financial institution how much they can give into the system for financial intermediation and economic activity, because it has not worked in the past 3 months, and one is wondering how that will work within this period.
But technical advisor at the office of the Vice President, Dr. Kabir Mahama, disagrees.
The Bank of Ghana will have to listen, will have to monitor external development. If your cedi is depreciating on the back of the fact that Federal Reserves across or central banks across the globe are having their policy rate, you would expect the Bank of Ghana to also respond, not just to keep inflation, but also exchange rate or forex policy. So we should not just look at the decision of the BOG to increase the policy rate by 300 basis points to the effect that it is essential or solely or peculiarly to mop up excess liquidity. But I always explain that, look, for a policy to mop up excess liquidity, it means that that policy is intended. Because, look, if prices increase and there's no money to buy, prices will come down. So, but that analogy, if you sit down to look at what is happening and you say that that policy cannot inure to the benefit of the Ghanaian economy, I shudder to wonder what probably would.
Now, former Finance Minister Dr. Kwabena Dufo says government must immediately announce further cuts on planned expenditure. Listen to him explain how this and other measures can save the economy from further deterioration.
We should cut down the expenditure. We should.
Even now that we have cut down 30%?
We can still cut it. Look, Prof. Mills reduced his MDs from 27 to 23. You understand?
I guess you.
President Kufuor worked with 27 MDs. Mm-hmm. Prof. Mills came and cut it down to 23. We can still cut expenditure down. If you don't have revenue, if you don't grow the revenue, what do? You cut the expenditure down to make sure that you don't overburden yourself, especially when revenue is not coming. Mm-hmm. If you're not growing the revenue, you must watch your spending. We must also be careful. We are destroying our institutions. A young economist will say, when the fundamentals are right, so. It goes beyond that. If you are destroying institutions like the judiciary,
really,
of course, it would have an effect on your currency.
CD.
But the investors say, hey, we're the country in which there's no law.
Political stability.
Yes. When you destroy your banking industry, I'm an investor. Will I have a bank to work with? No. We cannot wait for 8 months for anybody to come and help us. We have our own gold. So apart from the fundamentals, making your currency strong, institutional destruction is a serious issue that must be looked at. We are talking too much. During my vetting years ago, I said money is a spiritual commodity. It doesn't like noise.
I see.
You are talking too much.
But should the finance minister step aside?
Einstein said, no problem can be solved, but from the same level of consciousness that created the problem. Einstein said so.
No, but you are basically quoting him because you want to say he should go to.
No, you quoted him.
Yeah. Well, I get you.
So it's a very dicey issue. One person doesn't make an economic team. Are you saying that one person creates a problem or a group?
They say he's the man who told us not long ago we are not going to the IMF, that we are a proud nation, and that we are not a country that's going to belong to some Western country or which group into manage the economy for us, that we are old enough to manage our own business. And that's what someone said.
Is he the leader of the nation?
No, he's not. I mean, of course.
It's a leadership problem. It's a leadership problem.
Really?
Of course, yes.
Has the current economic management team failed in your eyes?
The economy is a difficulty. The economy has failed.
That is Dr. Kwabena Dufour there, former finance minister. He spoke to Raymond Akwa on the upfront. The president has been speaking today about the Ghanaian economy at Winneba in the central region. Correspondent Richard Kojo joins us with an update. Richard, what exactly has the president been saying?
So, Ernest, the president has been assuring the country that his government is not oblivious of the fact that the country is in higher times, and he's confident that the key measures put in place by the economic management team will help restore sanity. He further indicated as president, his goal is to help improve the standards of living of the people in Ghana, and his government will stop at nothing to deal with the economic challenges in order to bring some relief to the people.
One step in the short run towards that goal. Other steps will be taken, in particular, to deal with the unacceptable depreciation of the cedi, reining in inflation by bringing down food prices is a major preoccupation of the government. This season's emerging successful harvest will assist us to achieve this objective, together with other policies.
That's President Akufo-Addo there, and every aspect of the economy, various institutions affected by the crisis right now, including orphanages. And this afternoon, some children in some orphanages in the country are at risk of malnutrition and possible starvation. This is because of the rising cost of living, which has taken a heavy toll on the operation at the various shelters. Manu Cranton has the latest for our Joy 11 Standard Series.
Kids sweating and panting as they kick the ball from one end of the compound to the other. Schools are on vacation and the kids at the Great Mission International Rehabilitation and Children's Home are in deep on their playtime. Over 75 orphans who once lived on the streets in various parts of the country are now receiving care from this private organization established and run by John Nyavo.
People just walk in with the little donation they have. Some people will buy food stuff.
Donations have dried up.
But now, things they bring now is, you see somebody bring pure water. So you will see that everything just dropped.
The home is now substituting protein sources amongst others to keep the kids fed.
First, we had plenty fishes and meat on our food, but now things have decreased. We don't have plenty meat and fish on our food.
Now we have been eating beans and groundnut soup.
The current high cost of goods on the market has drastically reduced the purchasing power of GMI. John admits this.
Now a bag of charcoal is 120 cedi. A corn that we used to buy like 300 cedi a bag. Now it's 700 cedi.
And that's Manu Cranton's report for the Joy Living Standard series. Now, the prosecution of the Chief Executive Officer of defunct gold dealership firm Men's Gold, Nana Piamensa, is very far from over, as it is emerging that state prosecutors are finding it difficult identifying the relevant laws to secure a conviction. Namwan was arrested in 2019 and charged with defrauding by false pretenses, money laundering, and carrying out on deposit-taking business without license, contrary to Section 6(1) of the Bank's Specialized Deposit-Taking Institutions Act 2016 and 13 other charges. Thousands of people lost their deposits following the collapse of the scheme, but their hope is in the courts to retrieve the funds for them. Now, speaking on economic crimes and other issues and its effect on the nations at a forum organized by the Asante Professionals Club, the executive director of the Economic and Organized Crime Organization, Mame Tiwa Adodankwa, explained the difficulty being faced by the institution.
The relevant laws defining offenses. Sometimes you believe it, you know somebody has committed an offense, but you can't have any relevant law to support your case prosecuted. And like I said earlier, nothing is a crime unless there's an enactment making it a crime. So, example is men's court case. Which law, which act did it break? And it's becoming difficult even prosecuting that case because the law that will define the law, the offense, and also provide the elements, it's difficult to find. So the relevant law defining absence of that is also making prosecution difficult.
Well, the difficulty is not just with the Men's Gold or NAM1 case. The Yoko boss has been explaining other challenges faced by state institutions in prosecuting financial and economic crimes.
One of the difficult cases to prosecute or to investigate is economic or financial crime because it involves a lot of paperwork. And you need to prove the cases not because of what you think, because you believe the truth is that the person has committed offense. But the fact is that you need to provide evidence. And if you can't find something, documents are not there, and you cannot even trace, the person is on retirement, and you cannot trace anything, it will even affect prosecution processes. And when people get away with crimes, the crime will continue. So one of the things that we'll talk about is the digitalization that will support prosecution. Because if you can't provide evidence, you can't do anything.
To address the issue of Ponzi schemes, Madam Tiwa Adodankwa said Yoko is embarking on rigorous education to draw attention to such fraudulent investments.
Some of them invested their whole life, and after the collapse, they had nothing, and they thought dying was better than living and not having anything. So these are some of the financial, emotional stress. I know one police officer who collected his end of service benefit and then invested everything in men's food, and the person lost everything. Now he has become a drunkard, even though he wasn't like that, because he doesn't understand how he will live without that money, because he was investing to get the return to support during his time of pension, but now he doesn't have it. So he's having a whole lot of things on some of these things. So because people don't do due diligence, they hear any returns on investment and then they run to go for it. We need to educate people, and Yoko is out educating people at the marketplaces, at the churches, at any opportunity that we get, any platform.
Executive Director of the Economic and Organized Crime Office, Mame Tiwa Adodankwa there. 7 people are in the grips of the police for their alleged involvement in the killing of an old man and woman who were branded witches in the Talensi district of the Upper East region. The accused persons were forced by a fetish priest under the instructions of some community members to drink some concoctions to prove their innocence. However, the old man died instantly and the older woman a day after taking the unknown substance. The police is still on a manhunt for other suspects. DCE for Talensi district Thomas Wooney Pearson says he's surprised by the incident and will follow up with the police.
We have a traditional setup in my place, and soothsaying has been part of it. There have been processes of witchcraft. Sometimes we hear, but we've never witnessed something like this before. So this is a new phenomenon where attempts are made to prove that whoever they mention as a witch is the witch. 2 people I hear lost their lives, and that is the surprising aspect that I'm hearing.
And often the regret is that we see this incident happen, people are arrested, and yet nothing is made of the case. Can we get your assurance that this will be followed through to the very end and justice served?
I would have to get proper briefing on this matter before the DIFED will sit down and draw conclusions plans as to how to avert some of these things and the way forward. My district is not too ready yet because we don't have a resident police commander.
You had the DCE for Talensi District, Thomas Wuni Pearson. You're listening to the Midday News on Joy 99.7 FM. Still to come, the National Council of Parent-Teacher Association pledged to halt the imminent closure of schools over food shortage as it prepares to provide food items to some schools.
So when this crisis is coming in and then schools have to shut down, we will not allow it to happen. So we just advise our members to see how best they can come in.
And much later in the bulletin, using popular lyrics to inspire students in the lecture hall.
So from the college, I can assure you that my mind day for you and my heart beats for you.
My heart beats for you every time when I think of you.
Finally, from Kevin Boy, I fall down flat.
I fall for you down flat. I fall for you down.
We have details after this break. Stay with us. Thanks for staying with us here on the Midday News on Joy 99.7 FM. We'll bring you sports shortly, but just before that, the National Council of Parents-Teacher Association says it will not look on for schools to be crippled by the frequent shortage of food, which is threatening the school's closure. In a letter cited by John News, the leadership of the Northern Regional Chapter of CHAS warned they will be forced to stop SHS-1 of the single track from reporting to school if the Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, does not immediately release funds to cater for perishable goods. Let's hear from the Executive Director of the Institute of Education Studies, Peter Anti, who says government must stop politicizing the free SHS program and review it.
We could have avoided this because we saw this over a year ago. So it was just a matter of the ministry admitting or taking steps to the escalation of the problem. But we need to look at the whole operational plan of supplying food to the schools. There has not been an admission that we are in a difficult situation. I think that when leaders accept that there are challenges, then their mind is now tuned to solving those challenges or problems. That is why I feel that we are going to get here several times till at a point in time when we feel, or the leaders feel, that this is really getting out of hand and drastic measures needs to be undertaken. In the case of the free SHS, we have constantly heard that this is a policy of this person, this is a policy of that person. The person that seems to own the policy seems to say that, no, it is me that brought it and this is how I want it. And we don't sustain policies in that manner. The more pressure that comes from the managers of our schools, the more we are able to see an end to what the schools are going through.
Now, former President John Dramani Mahama is also urging government to consider the review of the free SHS policy. He was speaking at the 8th Biennial National Delegates Conference of the Ghana National Association of Private Schools in the Eastern Region.
Our educational system has witnessed a downgrade because of the policies that are currently being implemented. Sacrificing quality and introducing hidden levers of cost negatively affects our agenda to improve our national competitiveness in this competitive and complex digital age. And the situation gets worse day by day, not only in terms of quality of education in the public schools, but even in terms of the quality of the lives of the children on campus. Recently, you've seen videos of secondary school students dipping their hands into hot banku to fetch their share because the feeding is inadequate. They are very malnourished in school. I have not spared any opportunity to encourage this government to consider a national stakeholders conference to review the implementation of the new policy.
We can now hear from the National Council of Parent-Teacher Association that says that it will contribute its quota to ensure that the schools are not closed. Irene Sam is PRO.
There will be a time that there will be a need for parents to contribute their quota to the development of the education of their children. And we're looking at today when things will become so hard, economic situations will come in, economic hardship and crisis will come in, because government alone is unable to cater for the needs of all of us. The issue now is that government alone cannot do everything for us. There is a need for us to also contribute our quota. So when this crisis is coming in and then schools have to shut down, we will not allow it to happen. So we just advise our members to see how best they can come in to help get food items for our children. My dear, it is so disheartening and so alarming when you hear that your ward is in school and they have to close down school basically because of shortage of food, or no food items are not being provided. It is so disheartening. So we will not sit down and let this thing happen. We will not sit down and look on for schools to be closed down just because government is unable to provide these items for our ward.
Irene Sam is PRO of the National Council of Parent-Teacher Association. Let's find out what's happening in sports. Razak Musbao is here with the latest. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Ernest. The Joy Sports team, in collaboration with Prudential Life Insurance, is ready for another edition of its popular cycling competition called Pro Ride, which is a 99.7 kilometer challenge for professional and amateur riders. This year's edition comes off on September 11th and will be at the Black Star Square. Gary Housemates is here, and Gary, tell us more.
Yeah, we're excited that this third edition is coming. The first was at the Black Star Square. Second, we took it elsewhere to Ablekuma area. And we are back at the Black Star Square. As you mentioned, it's 99.7 kilometers in keeping with the brand. And it's open to anybody with a UCI license, professional, or if you belong to a club, you can register as well. Amateurs and all cycling enthusiasts, that's corporate institutions and families and groups, can ride for fun, and you would want to register at prudential.com.gh/PruRide Accra. They are partners, and registration is absolutely free. The deadline for doing so is the 6th of September. So there'll be more promos for this as we bring you the Pro Ride 2022 is the third edition on the September the 11th. Sorry.
All right. So if you enjoy cycling, you definitely have to be part of it. Ernest, maybe you should get a bicycle and enjoy this one.
Well, we'll think about it. Think about it. It's been a while. I actually, took a ride on a bicycle.
You should try. September 11th, try.
Yeah, let's see how that goes. Thank you very much, Razak, for bringing us the latest in sports. And Razak, I don't know how your lecturers used to encourage you in school, to take up your studies and be serious about it. But this afternoon, we can hear from a professor at the University of Ghana, Daniel Frimpong Ofori, who's taken inspiration from popular songs to encourage his students to study hard.
I'm going to choose my message from 3 Ghanaian dancehall artists. So from the college, I can assure you that my mind day for you and my heart beats for you.
My heart beats for you. Every time when I think of you, I don't know.
And from Black Sheriff, Kona Kobi Sasemi, guy name here. And finally, from Kevin Boy, I fall down flat.
I fall for you down flat. I fall for you down.
Students would like you to bring your mind and heart to what we teach. Because if you don't do that, those in town won't feel you. And that's also from another dancehall artist. And if they don't feel you, the questions they ask are, what do they teach you at Legon? They don't teach you anything. And as for falling down flat, it means that we want you to commit yourself completely. And then for those of us who also teach and do research and produce the students, let's also fall down flat, because sometimes our students complain that they don't feel us enough.
Knows what time it is. That's Professor Daniel Frimpong Ofori. And in the midday news here on Joy 99.7 FM, our top story this hour: announced further cuts in expenditure and stop interfering in the work of key institutions. The blueprint from an experienced former finance minister to save a distressed Ghanaian economy. That's Dr. Kwabna Dufour there. There's more news when you log on to myjoyonline.com. I'm Ernest. Up next is Living Word with Dr. Mensa Otabil. Good afternoon.
life wonderful when everything worth doing is scheduled? Hitting the stop button on your alarm just in time for your morning jog. That happy moment listening to your baby's heartbeat at the doctor's office. Or an arranged virtual meeting